Welcome back, the Juice Podcast. Cody Mitchell here with the Atlantic 10 Conference Tournament preview. Another one of the great conference tournaments that are as every single year. Just with the teams, it's just with the team names. The schools here have presented us just a ton of darlings in March. Obviously, the VCU Final Four, the George Mason team is a Final Four team. Dayton's made an Elite Eight. They made a Final Four way back in the day. I think that was in the 60s, though. But still Final Four. St. Louis is a name that's, popped up in March a few times. St. Joe's, when they had Jameer Nelson and Delonte West, has made it to a Final Four. I know I'm probably forgetting somebody. Now Loyola Chicago has made a Final Four. Goddamn, how many Final Four schools do you have in here? I know LaSalle has made Final Fours, too. They made 2 Final Fours. That was also way back in the 60s. 60s, 70s, I don't remember. It was not even alive. My parents probably weren't even alive yet. But they've done it. Pretty sure St. Bonaventure's made a Final Four, too. So hold on, you have 14 teams. St. Louis, no. VCU, yes. So you got 1. Dayton, yes. St. Joe's, yes. 3. George Washington, no. I don't believe. Davidson, no. But Elite 8, Steph Curry. George Mason, yes. 4. Duquesne has 5. Rhode Island, no. Richmond, no. Fordham, no. St. Bonaventure, yes. LaSalle, Loyola Chicago, yes. 8. 8 of the 16 teams have made a Final Four in this conference. Granted, a lot of it was a long time ago, but still Final Four. So I got the Monmouth Campbell game going on right now. We have Monmouth. We bet Monmouth today, but we also have them in the finals, or a ticket for them to win the Colonial, and then obviously we got Towson, the big one, who was my pick to win the Colonial outright, and I think it was almost 20-1 when we bet it. So, but let's do the A10. This is an awesome, awesome tournament. I will enjoy every freaking second of it. The production value of it's really good, too. A lot of the games are on USA Network, and I think they actually do a pretty damn good job with it. So let's just jump right into it, because this one definitely a little bit less chalky, for me at least, than we did with the CUSA one. So let's get to the bracket here. Opening round here, we got St. Bonaventure and LaSalle. I went back and forth a lot, because I do think St. Bonaventure is so much more talented than the 13th best team, the second to worst team in the A10. 13th best, yeah, right. They're the second to worst seed in this tournament. And the talent thing is, yeah, it does matter, but the biggest thing is Mark Schmidt is not returning to St. Bonaventure next season. He's been there forever. I think he's a really good coach, and he's done a really good job in the tournament. It's just the last few years kind of sputtered out of control. I don't know what's going on, but I do think the guys will get up and play for the coach, especially this is the first game after it's been announced. So I like the Bonnies to advance here. Down below, I don't know what to think with Loyola Chicago, man. They have been just a thorn in my ass all season long. So it wouldn't shock me right here if they knocked off Chris Mooney. I think also he was announced he is going to return to Richmond next season. I like Richmond. I like Spiders here. Chicago, their Sister Jean's gone. There's no fucking magic up in these hills. This team is fucking god-awful. I'm really interested to see what they do with Drew Valentine in the offseason, but no, I'm not buying into this Loyola Chicago shit. Let's get to the second round here. Fordham, George Washington. What a fucking year for Fordham being in the 8th seed. Unfortunately, it's going to come to an end here because I like Chris Caputo and the Revolutionaries, the Colonials of George Washington. Way better fucking name. Don't disrespect George Washington like that shit. With the Revolutionaries. I will say, it's stupid you change your name. Soft fucking move for changing the name. But definitely not the worst choice. You could do worse than Revolutionaries. 100% could do worse. But you still should not change the name. It's fucking soft as shit. But from a basketball standpoint, George Washington might be the top 4 talented team in this league. Just kind of underachieved. They punched up a lot, but they also got bitten by some of the bottom teams in the A10 this season. But it's a new season. Put it together here. George Washington advances to the quarterfinals. Bonnie's great run. Mark Schmidt, you did amazing things there. I'll miss seeing you in that Bonnie's brown. Kind of reminds me of my high school colors, but I do think Tony Skinn and the Patriots, even though it kind of got ugly down the stretch, have enough to get by here and advance to the quarterfinals as well. Rhode Island, Duquesne, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. There's a lot to like about Duquesne. There's a lot to like about Rhode Island. There's a bunch to hate about both of them. But for me, I end up going with the Rams of Rhode Island because I really just got tired of going back and forth, and I have them losing the next game anyway. So I'm just going to go with Archie Miller. As much as I don't know if he's that much of a coaching upgrade, but I am going the Rams. I have spoiler, I have VCU advancing anyway, so I was like, why am I spending all day on this? Down below here, I do have Davidson advancing over Richmond. To put to bed the Chris Mooney miracle. There's no run coming in here. I think Davidson's a better team. They take care of the basketball. They shoot it really well. They're really good at the free throw line. It's a team that's kind of built to win a tournament setting. So I'm going to advance the Wildcats here to the quarterfinals. Now, top game up here in the quarterfinals, St. Louis and George Washington. Tell you what, St. Louis has struggled down the stretch, to say the least. They have, what have they done in their last few games here? They were at one point 24-1. They lost 3 of their last 6 to Rhode Island, Dayton, and George Mason. They were all on the road. And this is a neutral. So, I mean, it's basically a road game. They played George Washington early in the year, beat them by 3 on their home court. St. Louis is in the tournament, regardless. I'm going to have Chris Caputo and George Washington. Revenge spot after losing a very close one. I think St. Louis is a little wounded, and I do think the style and the athleticism of George Washington will be able to get them to the next round and upset St. Louis. St. Louis doesn't have, like, George Washington, your season's over, you don't win this thing. St. Louis, you're going to the dance regardless. Now, you could play for seeding, I get that. Even though you're St. Louis, you probably should rather be, if I was them, I'd rather be like 11 seed, not the win this thing and get up to a 9 or an 8. I don't know if they're getting to an 8, but to a 9, I'd much rather be a 11 seed. But I'm going to go with the Colonials to upset the Billikens and get to the semifinals. This one hurts me because I do like both of these teams, George Mason and Dayton. But, man, the Flyers have been red fucking hot. I know they just lost to VCU over the weekend, but that was a VCU like, hey, we win this shit, we're an automatic qualifier. Because I do think they're probably comfortably, maybe not comfortably just because the committee sucks, and they're very biased, and they'll get another SEC team in there that's terrible. But before that, man, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They've won 7 of the last 9. The only 2 losses, both to VCU. Yeah. I like the Flyers. Anthony Grant, familiarity with this tournament. He's won it a million times. Good tournament style coach. Roster's finally getting healthy. Give me the Flyers to advance on here. Now, I do like George Mason, and we'll get to that in the long shots, but I really just hate the path. Like, I wish if they were down where Davidson was and got the 6th seed, I might even have George Mason making it to the finals just because I do like Tony Skinn and I do like the roster makeup here. But unfortunately, you're going to run into this Dayton team that's red freaking hot. So I have Dayton also advancing to the semifinals. Like I said earlier, I have VCU beating Rhode Island. Didn't really matter who got there. I think they're getting to the semis. And then I have St. Joe's taking down Davidson. If Davidson can shoot the ball crazy well and keep themselves in this game, they might have a chance against St. Joe's, but I do think at the end of the day, St. Joe's athleticism is going to outweigh them, and they will get to the semifinals. In the semis, I have Dayton beating George Washington. I will say whoever wins that George Mason-Dayton game, I do expect to be in this final spot here in the title game. So Dayton looking to try to get A10 a chance at the 3-bid league. And who would they be playing? I have St. Joe's beating VCU. I think VCU, regardless, they win a couple games. They're in the dance. They get to the semis. I know if you win that game, you win the tournament, you're guaranteed to be in. But I'm going to go with St. Joe's to advance to the finals. And who do I have winning this thing? I have the Dayton Flyers and Anthony Grant gets the Flyers back to the dance, the A-10 becomes a 3-bid league with St. Louis, VCU, and Dayton. Let's do it. With one of those teams probably playing in Dayton in the first 4, be my guess. But I'm with the Flyers. I had the Flyers winning the A-10 tournament. As far as my best bets go, obviously I'm still going to take VCU plus 180 because I do think they have a really, really good chance to get there. And I think they have probably the easiest path. But I did go with St. Joe's. I fucking forgot to put them on here. But I have St. Joe's as well as another bet of 11-1 and Dayton at plus 750. I'm just not betting St. If St. Louis wins the tournament, I'm going to lose money. But I'm basically chalking up everything else as to try to find a way to make a little bit of cash here. I don't think the Billikens do it. I think it's going to be VCU, Dayton, or St. Joe's. But my long shots with George Washington at 16-1 and George Mason 35-1. I think George Mason 35-1 is probably the best value. That should be probably a 16-1, not a 35-1. That team is super, super talented. That's kind of a ridiculous line. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Flyers to get in there, and hopefully that happens because I want the A-10 to be a 3-bid league. It would be awesome for the sport. I'm sure the committee will find a way to fuck us over and not get it. But, I mean, if someone else takes care of business, they at least are going to make it a conversation that's going to have to be had. So, yeah, that's it. Everybody enjoy the games this weekend. This week is awesome. We got a bunch of games tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all day, Saturday, and then Sunday. Got a bracket. So, until the next preview, see you guys out here.